So, you like scary games? I sure hope so, because it's kind of what I do here. Well, why do I ask? Well, I like scary games. I've been fascinated with the horror genre since the first time I played Resident Evil 2 on a friend's Nintendo 64 during a sleepover. As a kid in middle school, Resident Evil 2 instilled a fear in me that I haven't felt till I played this game, Visage. Today, I'd really like to talk a little bit about Visage. Visage was released on October 30th, 2020 by the tiny Sad Square Studio. It follows the perspective of Dwayne Anderson as you slowly uncover the secrets of his home and its past residents. You stalk narrow corridors looking for clues to understand the nightmare that has become your night. Development for Visage started in early 2015 alongside their Kickstarter to fund the game, which closed in March 2016. The Kickstarter generated roughly $87,000, massively exceeding their initial goal of roughly $25,000. Riding the hype of the now defunct Silent Hills teaser PT, Visage took the claustrophobic horror to a new extreme. I like to consider myself a Silent Hill fan. I like my pyramid heads, and I like my ghosts coming out of walls. So after finish this game, I cannot see why it has taken me so long to play this game. When PT hit the PlayStation Store, I did not hesitate to jump on and get my spook on. And let me tell you, shit scared my pants off. But Visage is PT dialed to 11. Within the first hour of this game, I could not wait to start talking about it. So I'm very glad you're here. And while I have you here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and tell me what I should add to my horror games library. Also, hit one of the thumbs. They both work and both are very, very cool. Anyway, enough lollygagging. My review of Visage. Much like PT, Visage takes place in the limited first-person perspective. This view makes you live the horrors of the house as if you were seeing things through the eyes of Dwayne himself. To cap this perspective, items you're carrying appear as in your hands. I put it that way because Dwayne has no character model, which, despite how terrifying the perspective made the game, having items float around in front of you was kinda cheesy. During the cutscenes or scripted events, the camera moves as if it was attached to a body, but we, the players, see no limbs of any sort, so it kinda just looks like the camera's moving weird. So now that I've gotten the bad out of the way, most of my way through this game I was thoroughly immersed. The sound design is spectacular. It really pushes the oppressive atmosphere. There's something I gotta get in here. I'm in the right place. The design of the house is basically your mean grandma's scary house that she's lived in since the 70s, and only updated it to 80s decor. Poorly lit, bad electrical, all kinds of nooks and crannies hidden in the cloaks of shadows. Did I mention this game is dark? Like, really dark. Even if you have a light source equipped, it still felt like the darkness is trying to consume you. And if you don't have a light source, fucking good luck. Not being able to see a damn thing really puts you on the back foot. Is whatever hunting you at this time in that corner over there? Or is that just a stack of laundry? Fuck if I know. Would having a light source make the situation less terrifying? Probably not. There are a few locations that Dwayne visits, and each is more terrifying than the last. Every location you visit is so well designed, from the level design itself all the way down to the set dressing and light placement. For me, the hospital was definitely a standout. It felt like something was going to jump at me at every corner. The underground facility also was thoroughly fantastic. It felt like everything was wet, and I could almost taste the humid, stale air through my monitor. And Dolores' house added a level of nuance to what the player had previously become familiar with. Everything was familiar, but felt horribly wrong. I had little to no issue really diving headfirst into this game, and I could honestly say at times it felt like I was right there in Dwayne's non-existent shoes. This was one of the best immersive experiences I've had all year. Its perspective makes you feel everything and see next to nothing. The sound design makes you feel like something is on your back at all times. The lighting makes you trust no shadows, and sometimes not even the light. And the level design reflects the tone of everything above. You get it, right? Atmosphere. Good. Moving on. So, the gameplay of Visage is far from unique, but it is very, very effective. Dwayne is an old man, and as such, dude moves slow as hell. Even when sprinting, it feels like he just lifted his walker a little bit to let the little wheels do all the work. You know, when they lift the little tennis balls on one end and you got the wheels on the other, you just lift the tennis balls. It's all wheels. But it works. The very slow pace of his gait adds to the urgency of running and hiding from the apparitions who are out for your blood. But that's where my praise ends for the gameplay itself. Granted, it's a pretty big praise. Movement is like 90% of this game, but, big but, and I cannot lie, inventory management was a fucking nightmare. There are 5 dynamic inventory slots, plus the 2 that are your hands. Any item you need to not die fills a slot. And a few items even take up both of your hands. So if you're wandering with an inventory full of candles, light bulbs, lighters, and antipsychotics, plus your hands are full, you better figure out which 2 items are the least important so you can carry around this fucking sledgehammer. Swapping inventory items is also a hassle. There are no quick slots, so anything that might streamline the inventory management. You want to swap items? Okay. Open the menu, find the item you want, left click for the left hand, right click for the right. That makes sense. But it all could have been improved by quick slots and maybe 4 more inventory slots with 2 dedicated for quick swapping items. Instead, you get this clunky procedure that if you need to swap something quick, you could be shit out of luck. So, let's talk about key items for a minute. I really liked that I could just find key items that I had no business of having at that time. For instance, I spent 90% of the game with the Omega key in my inventory, which opens a small lockbox that opens a passage to the facility underneath the house, which is a late game area that contains a piece of mirror mask needed to complete the game as part of the Dwayne chapter. There's not much else to say about that really. I just thought it was really neat that I just went the entire game trying to open up every single lock with that stupid fucking key. I would be remiss if I failed to mention the sanity system the game has in play. Very much like the original Amnesia, when in darkness or witness to supernatural events, the sanity meter starts to fill up. And luckily there is a steady supply of antipsychotics lying around to keep Dwayne of sane mind mostly. When you start the game, a splash screen appears telling you the game's hard. And I'm here to refute that. The game is not hard, it is merely obtuse. Hard would be if the puzzles had an obscure hint to solve it. Some of the puzzles in Visage offer no hints, which wouldn't be a problem if you weren't being constantly stalked by some malevolent resident constantly. There were many times where I had to look up how to solve something, and every time I had to, the solution was something I would never do, would never have tried to do, nor was it ever hinted at. The one that got me the most was when I was hunting some of the last mirror mask pieces. One of the tapes showed the mirror room on it, so I spent a decent amount of time in the mirror room. Well, it turned out that it wanted me to find a pry bar and rip up some of the floorboards, which I had no idea was even a thing. So, to reiterate, the game isn't hard. When puzzles have sufficient information to glean from, they can be solved rather intuitively. When I had proper information, I stumbled around still, but made good pace. But when the puzzle hints are far too vague, I spend hours trying to solve one puzzle. It's not fun. But most of the game was very well paced otherwise. The gameplay is not very varied at all. Move from room to room, find items, use items, run from ghosts. But it works, even with the clunky inventory system and often obtuse puzzles.
It just works.
Visage is at its core simply a walking simulator that is really fucking scary, which is not a bad thing. It just is what it is. The story follows Dwayne, who you are introduced to right as the game starts, and what an introduction. Dude straight up murders his family, then seemingly fails a suicide attempt. He wakes up in a square concrete room, and his home is now open to some new guests. The game starts with allowing the players to find their bearings and learning some of the more basic systems of the house. Then the player will eventually wander onto a unique item and a new chapter will begin. My first chapter was Lucy's chapter, which, in my opinion, was the scariest and hardest chapter of the entire game. It follows the story of young Lucy, who I will assume is around 6 to 10. She makes an imaginary friend and starts to become more and more unpredictable. Ultimately, it culminates in Lucy ripping off her own lower jaw, killing her tragically.
Lucy won't open! Lucy, open that door now. Lucy, open that goddamn door now! Move!
Jesus Christ. My second chapter was Dolores. She was an older mother who lived with her husband. She was quite neglected by him, and the chapter shows her slow descent into madness as her husband attempts to take her life, as he is just done with her bullshit. She claims to hear the baby crying constantly through the baby monitor, and it drives her insane. She eventually kills her husband and hangs herself in her bedroom as her baby is screaming in its crib right in front of her.
What the fuck?
really fucked shit. Really fucked shit. Rockon was a unique chapter. He was the only resident that got too close to the game. He was ex-military and assumed the government was messing with him in his life. And, well, he was right. When he became a problem, he was locked in a sealed room underneath his house and had his legs broken by who I'm assuming was Dwayne, acting on behalf of his company to prevent him from becoming a real problem. And to close the game, you get to experience the nightmare that Dwayne had lived every day. And most of that nightmare was guilt of the ghosts of his past. You find out he's a severe alcoholic, drinking himself into a stupor in front of his TV every fucking day, ignoring and neglecting his wife and children. You eventually find out he worked for a company who owned the house and maintained a facility underneath said house. Plot twist. He was working there while Dolores, Lucy and her family, and Rakan all lived there. It's assumed they pumped chemicals into the water and air of the house to test the effects of what I'm assuming was LSD on the residents of the house. Judging by the nature of Dwayne's chapter, he deeply regrets all he did to the residents and his own family and desperately wants to make amends. And I believe that by making him confront himself, he is able to find some kind of forgiveness, at the very least from himself or his family. I completed the game with a good ending, and honestly, it was great, it was sweet, it was nice. I mean, far better than he deserved, by a long shot. It was nice. I would have given him a good ending. He didn't deserve a good ending. The pacing of the story and how much is revealed wholly depends on who is playing and how you are playing. You don't need to collect all the story items to progress the game, so it's quite possible to miss a lot. I worked very hard to collect all I could find, missing only 2 of Dolores' cassettes. At first, I thought the game was just a spooky ghost story, but instead it was a guilt-ridden story of a man who was legitimately grieving all the lives he has destroyed and how they were all connected by a single terrible thread. When I first played PT, my reaction was, wow, this is fucking scary. So, how could a simple little clone even come close to topping PT? Well, it does. Tenfold, in my opinion. Lucy and Dolores' chapters really had me fucked up. Like, I spent most of my time in a constant state of dread. There was a point during Dolores' chapters where I nearly cried. It's like my last bastion of safety right there. Oh, Jesus Christ. Come the fuck on. Oh my God. Bruh. My body is having a visceral reaction to that. Holy shit. Ugh. Jesus Christ. What the hell was that? Oh, and she's still laughing. That was... God, that was... The game is needlessly cruel. Needlessly. Like, I had no warning. I had no warning that was coming. She just outright fucking murdered me. Jesus Christ, dude. Oof. Oof is right. Oh my fucking God. Now, I really need to express the significance of that. I play mostly horror games. If it's remotely spooky, I play it. And generally, I'm unbothered. The last time I was even close to being this bothered was during my first playthrough of Darkwood. Lucy's chapter is dark and it's tense when she's getting ready to kill you. She really lets you know about it, but you're just never sure when. Dolores' chapter is decently lit, but it's oppressive. Dolores wants you dead, and she wants you to see her when she does it. So she often appears right in front of you, right before she plunges her knife in you. But then there's Rakan and Dwayne's chapter. Rakan's chapter is fine. The atmosphere is really great, but Rakan himself he just isn't scary. The patients are, and they're very reminiscent of the bubbleheads from Silent Hill, but Rakan, it's just a dude. Like, it's literally just a dude. It chases you around. Like, why? Why couldn't it have been more? Dwayne's chapter is just a poorly lit walking simulator where the Ink Man wants to tickle your butt hairs if he catches you. And after all the other chapters, Dwayne's chapter is just kind of there. There's a lot of really great exposition and storytelling that happens in Dwayne's chapter, but it's just not scary. Not even a little bit. It's the one you can cheese. You just throw the attic ladder down, and it's like 90% of the Inkman chase. You can't get you now. You get stuck in the ladder. Whatever. All in all, the game is horrifying. And if you scare easily, this might be a really bad time for you, to be honest. It's genuinely scary. Sans Dwayne's chapter. But it's good. It's scary. Scary as shit. So, Visage is a phenomenal experience, and in my opinion, one of the best I've had in a walking simulator style. Would I play it again? No, I don't think so. It scared me enough the first time. But with there being so few scripted events and the Ghost's AI being pretty unpredictable, the replay value is potentially limitless. The game's very fun and genuinely horrifying. So, let's talk scores. For immersion, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Straight up. All aspects of the game come together beautifully, creating a really strong and immersive experience. The gameplay loop and mechanics are gonna get a 7 out of 10. The inventory system really drags it down, and some of the puzzles are just fucking obtuse. Story of the game, gonna get 8 out of 10. I found the story to be unique and compelling. It definitely had me asking a lot of questions, and most of the questions I had were answered. As far as the actual horror elements of Visage go, I'm going to give this game my first 10 out of 10. It is, in my opinion, a truly horrifying experience. It lets up in a few chapters, but I think the strength of it in Lucy and Dolores' chapter really carry the weight, and they carry it well. I was on edge 100% of the time during my experience. So, overall, I'm going to give Visage an accumulative 8.5 out of 10. The game is an outstanding showcase for this very small team. They managed to do what many developers in this genre really only dream of doing. Sad Square definitely knocked it out of the park with this release. I just just wanted to say I reached out to the developers to see if maybe they wanted to add anything to this. I mean, I'm nobody. Who the hell am I? Who the hell are you? You know what I'm saying? But I reached out to see if they wanted to add something or say something. Got nothing. I mean, I didn't use Twitter or anything, but email me. I used to. I forgot. Anyway. Oh, hey. Fancy seeing you here at the end of the video. You come here often? Nice. Thank you. Thank you for watching, truly. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. Next video is already in the works, and expect to see an Alan Wake 2 review, hopefully this year too. Well, that's it. I'm done. See you next time. Slosh out.